Good morning, Joey on the Carry Weather Dude here, and I'm not entirely sure if this is working or not. This is me trying the new software again, once again. It looks like it's working. Live! We are live. Severe thunderstorms in southern Ontario, ping pong, hail, and more. This is going on right now. So, I'm going to give you the best live look I possibly can in the process. Right. I do want to take 1 second though and not listen to myself and share this link so that people in the world know I'm live and watching severe thunderstorms that could erupt further in Ontario at this hour. So it makes no sense to make a stream and have nobody watch it. So that's really important that I at least share it on the Facebook and let my regulars know what I'm up to, right? Okay, let's go start with weather information. Severe thunderstorm watch in effect in southern Ontario. And I just got to trust that OBS software is working exactly how I want it and that you will all see me the way I want you to see me. Conditions are favorable for the development of severe thunderstorms that may be capable of producing strong wind, gusts, hail, 90-kilometer-an-hour wind, ping pong size hail. Ping pong size. That's a fucking big rock of hail, man, okay? So, isolated thunderstorms are developing over southern Ontario this morning. These thunderstorms may be capable of producing nickel-sized hail. Additionally, thunderstorms are developing over Michigan and are expected to track eastward into Ontario late this afternoon or late this morning. As the Great Lakes are very cold at this time, there is a great deal of uncertainty how strong these thunderstorms will be as they cross into Ontario. Should the cold temperatures of the lake be overcome, a strong line of thunderstorms is expected with strong wind gusts and large hail. Thunderstorms are expected to move east of the area early this evening. So this is the big concern right now. And if you'll forgive me, I'm just going to go to OBS here for a second and change my display so that I can go here. So this morning we don't have any tornado warnings yet that I've seen. I mean, it's 9:30 my time. That means it's 12:30 Ontario time. And some people are in the middle here or there. So there's definitely going to be things that might have happened I've already missed this morning. And one of the virtues of being in the West Coast is I do get to see the weather. How do you explain it? I wake up after you. You go to bed before me, right? So anyways, let's have a look at all the thunderstorm activity in Ontario right now. And some of it looks pretty developed. We'll go to precipitation depiction just for a second. And we see, bam, there is some hail. Some big time hail going on, isn't there? No. What am I talking about? I'm reading wrong. Precipitation depiction. So that rain, red is heavy, heavy, heavy bands of rain. Okay. Then what hail will be purples. Gotcha. I'm still getting used to, I just got this yesterday. Brand new, fully radar scope package. So I'm still learning a little bit. But for the most part, I have a pretty good understanding of what radar is and what it does. And you are in the right place. So we'll start here in Lake Erie, Turkey Point right now. Port Dover, seeing some strong thunderstorm activity in there. Up to Waterford, Scotland, Burford, Otterville, Brantford, seeing some patches of it. Cambridge just arriving now. Cambridge is just getting this cell, and it's got lightning and whatnot in it. We're going to turn off precipitation depiction because that confused me for a second. And go back to reflectivity. New Hamburg, Shakespeare, thunderstorms are going on in there right now. Just north of Stratford, some activity. Of course, Stratford, always a show there. Newton, Poole, Milverton. Those are places in Ontario I've never been before, but I've been through Seaforth and whatnot. Walton seeing lightning right now at this time, and then Goderich into a real good setup going on. Bam. That storm doesn't look tight or very organized, but that's lots of lightning. So that's something to be aware of. Same with these guys up here. I mean, look at this. Dundalk, Flesherton, all up that Highway 10. Holland Corner, Chatsworth, over Durham, Holstein, Mount Forest. So that's all those areas. And Guelph's just down here. Hopeville. Again, that's one of those small parts of Ontario that a lot of people overlook or don't get to go visit. I do have a friend in Owen Sound who I've spent, he lives just down here somewhere near Desborough. So I have been in that Meaford. And then a little bit of lightning east of Collingwood, Midland, seeing it pretty good right now. All through Victoria Harbor, Forest Harbor. No tornado watches are issued. And I think really the story still may be coming, Ontario, that this may be just sort of your first round that's been moving through, and you'll get a second round later in the afternoon. Okay, Menden, Gravenhurst, so all you in cottage country, pretty good lightning show going on there right now. This storm's just moved into Peterborough since we started broadcasting. It's traveling up Highway 7 towards Norwood and Havelock. North of Peterborough, Lakefield, Warsaw, that's strong development. I would love to know if we're getting a mix in there. Heavy rain. I haven't seen any hail yet. So I don't know if there's hail in here, but some of these areas I expect where the deep reds are, if they develop any further, and it's still pretty early. I mean, come on, it's only 12:30 there, not exactly. So all up Highway 7. So Norwood, Havelock, Marmora, Deloro, Madoc, these are all places I grew up. Tinolite, their mom's house just up by Bannockburn. The storms are north of you right now. She had a little bit pass through. If you go up towards the Highlands there, Denby and Gunter into MacArthur Mills, into the Land O'Lakes, Lamob, Ormsby, Cohill, lightning going on through there right now. Down by Belleville, Shannonville, into Napanee, just past Deserano and the res there, Tynanega. Definitely a little bit of a line going through there. Something to watch out for. So the big story for much of Ontario this morning was freezing rain, but that event seems to have somewhat passed. And Cobourg, Port Hope, this is pretty nicely developed little cell. Again, I don't see anything in these that is extremely severe yet. Definitely lots of lightning, definitely some good cores, which I anticipate will have hail in some of them as the day goes on. Oshawa right now. Hey, Oshawa, you getting a couple lightning bolts. There you go. So that is just, you got this one little line basically from Lakefield all the way down right into Lake Ontario, and you got another sort of secondary guy behind there, Kawartha Lakes. So what you notice about this thunderstorm activity is that it's all over the map, first of all, right? So we don't have one system moving through with a line of storms, which would be common. We don't have individual cells popping up. We just have these like large amalgamous areas where shit's just firing off left, right, and center. But we do have, definitely three kind of sublines in that right now. And of course, that's that one that's just passing through Madoc. We got this one through Peterborough, and then we got this one that's approaching Kitchener right now. Those are your ones to look out for. Tornado warning. First tornado warning of the day that I've seen, at least, in Arkansas. Forest City. Let's have a look at this guy quick. So, nothing that's blowing my mind here. But maybe rotation has been seen by somebody on the ground. So this is the beginning, I guess, of our little bit of velocity in there. So okay, something's going on. Some turning is happening. We'll go back up to Canada. I feel like a lot of the United States gets talked to death, right? So what I am trying to do in my forecast here is give you something that you're not getting anywhere else, really. So we know that you can go to Ryan Hall, y'all, and you can watch every tornado warning that gets issued if you're in the United States. You know, so far much of Southern Ontario getting a pass. So from London down to Chatham, down to Windsor, not much going on right now. But we did see already this morning Sarnia had their good show. I was expecting a mesoscale discussion, but I don't see any. Okay, here's our outlook as issued by the United States. And we'll go tornado outlook. This should be concerning to everybody in Canada that we have this whole section that, although we don't have any watches or warnings in effect, of course we do know ping pong size hail is possible today. So that's definitely an indication that you're going to have some extreme updrafts that really can produce. So we have this section all the way from, more or less Goderich up towards Bancroft or so, maybe. I don't know exactly where this line would cut. Maybe in reality it does this or something like that. Or maybe it comes up towards Mum's house in Bannockburn. Something like that. So what we have here is these are American outlooks, right? So this is the American tornado outlook. This is what their discussion is saying. And that's important. Important to recognize that whatever explodes off the United States today could be indicative of what we might still see in Ontario. Brandon. The warnings are terrible for live stream. That's okay, Brandon. I'm live right now and looking at storms moving through Southern Ontario. And I expect when this line kind of passes through, I'll stop streaming and wait till the next line explodes up. Oh, none of that sent because my battery said low. I need to charge my phone up and be ready. So here's our tornado outlook today, right? And we know that today is, a potentially big day in the United States. Our hail outlook extends a little further. So you have in here your main expectation. That goes right to Cleveland, all the way down into, towards Houston, Texas, right? So this next line is the next line of probability, and it goes outside the forecast area more or less. So we have two different things here: hail, tornado. Tornado is a much tighter coupling, if you notice, right? So the green being kind of like the outside boundary and the red being the inside. Well, look at this. I mean, you could see tornado activity in Ontario today, right? Everyone be really, if you know people in this whole section of Ontario this morning, and that goes like, say, up from Deseronto towards Perth, maybe, and then, you know, cuts down Highway 7, maybe a little further north of, maybe as far north as Bancroft, maybe not, over to Georgian Bay Shores. That includes Barrie in there. What's going to be here? We're going to go past Wyerton. Okay, so anywhere in this stretch, if you have a well-developed thunderstorm this afternoon that pops up, if you get a severe thunderstorm warning, take it very, very seriously, because these storms will not be fooling around, and it's early. The development of thunderstorms, strong wind danger, kind of on the south side. So I mean, yeah, we are in the forecast track area, but do I think we're in great danger comparatively? No, like I would say still the best bet, Strongsville, the best bet for strong thunderstorm and tornado development. It's probably still in the south of the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are pretty cold right now too, so it's not like we know exactly how that mix may transpire. You know, it's possible that the storms that the energy crossing the lakes weakens it a little bit. It's possible that it pisses it off. So, those aren't guesses I'm really qualified to make sitting here in British Columbia at this time. Let's go back and look at our storms now, because they are on the move. Turkey Point, Port Dover, that's not moving much. Hagersville, though, that's got a good one right there. New credit. Saw those areas just south of Brantford, southeast of, southwest of Hamilton. Definitely good looking thunderstorm going on right there. Oshweekon, Cayuga. It'll move, I'm sure, through here somehow as the day goes on. Burlington, Hamilton, seeing some rain, but not seeing much lightning in those setups. You have to go a little bit further north. Campbellville on the 401, small little storm, not very cohesive, not very well organized. These guys up here look a little better by the Elora Gorge, Fergus, Ontario. That's probably close to Ayr. Unitville. This one's a little stronger, but again, it's kind of lined out. So maybe what you need to worry about, got some gusts of wind that are showing up in some of these. So this here and this here show me that there are definitely some wind coming out of these storms. Not highly developed. Again, this guy here. Lots of lightning, though, going on. Drayton, Gladstone, Holland, Macton, Linwood, Cross Hill, Millbank. Lots of lightning. Up to Kenilworth, Harriston, Clifford. All through Dundalk, Stayner, Thornbury, on the Highway 26. If you go straight north of Mount Forest, you're probably going to miss a fair bit of it on the Highway 6 there. It's kind of more moving east of you. Some of these cells are possibly able to get isolated and maybe get a little stronger. That's something to watch out for. And then we kind of have this amalgamous amount of rain and heavy rains and things like that in there. And I've given up expecting that we'll find much for freezing rain left at this hour. It's all rain. That was my concern. Look at the front of this line. That is cool, right? So you have this line that's coming in, and we may have to switch radars to get a better look at it. Got this line that's kind of moving through. And let's have a look at its history and just see which direction it's for sure moving. So yeah, it's taking that same sort of direction I more or less expect. Isn't that neat? Okay. Oh, and Meowie needs in the house. Of course he does. Here's that look at the tornado warned storm down south. Again, I'm not seeing. Oh yeah, I'm in the wrong one. Not seeing it super tight and organized, but somebody sees something I don't. Okay, Meowie, come in. Come on, get in here. Take your time, young man. Take your time. I'm gonna go back home again. Let's have a look. Eastern Ontario. So we got strong storms now approaching towards Ottawa. Right. So where's some of this going on? Morrisburg, Brinston, Oxford Station. These are areas just sort of along the 401. That's all east of Kingston. Right. You're moving towards the Quebec border there. Richmond, Innisfil, Appleton, Almont. Lots of lightning in here. Possibly some wind gusts. You can see that line's approaching Ottawa. I would keep an eye, anybody living in this here, I would keep an eye on this coming into Ottawa and the potential for strong winds to gust out of that. A little bit of a bow echo there. I'm not saying it's going to be some insane event, but we definitely see on the velocity scans. And just to explain what a lot of you don't understand what the velocity scan is. So the velocity scan is important, first of all, to understand where the radar is situated. So the radar is more or less here in the middle. So what we were looking for is, this is kind of a tough one to explain. Okay, so green, all that the velocity radar measures is the direction of the wind relative to the radar station. So green means it's coming to the radar, and red means it's moving away, right? So when you see these kinds of setups along, this is what tells me these areas may have some pretty strong winds, right? So that's definitely something I'd be looking towards if that's approaching Ottawa right now. And we got a fairly long, some of these winds, you know, I don't like how it measures meters per second, the wind. That's bizarre to me, but okay. Meters per second. Over in Plevna, one of my favorite places, Plevna, that's definitely had that wind coming through, and you can see how the lightning is really embedded in the front of that storm. And there you go. So I would keep my eye on this right now. That's getting a nice shape to it. That's what you might call almost a bow echo, and that's when your storms kind of smooth out along the leading edge. So it's more or less a line. These aren't single cell storms. This is a line of storms, and what it's doing is it's gathered itself, and on the front edge of it, as we just saw in velocity, there is some very strong wind going on. So good morning to everybody who's watching. If anyone is, Shelly's watching. She's always good to support me here. Thank you very much, Shelly. If you know anybody in Ontario, make sure they know that this is not a day to fuck around. So I don't know how long I'm going to be, how long I'm going to be streaming for. Is that correct? Yes. How long I'm going to be streaming for this time? I kind of just want to get a good look. I'm concerned about this. The more it develops, I'm concerned about that. Ottawa getting some strong winds coming in right now. Some good precipitation embedded in there. And that's a mix. This precip. Okay, there we go. So that would indicate to me freezing rain is probably happening in some of these places in towards the Ottawa Valley. That's what the red means. So we've been kind of looking for that this morning in the precipitation depiction for either freezing rain or for hail, and finally we start to see some of it. Get a bit of a velocity picture again. Boom. This is some strong winds coming into Ottawa right now. So everybody in Ottawa, be aware. Severe thunderstorms in New York. Severe thunderstorm in Australia. And let's have a look at where these severe thunderstorms are right now. Arkansas, Indiana. Okay, here's the ones I want to look at, pay attention to, because Indiana, Michigan, these are the ones that I expect will be our story later today when they come to Ontario. So I think this first round of instability is not necessarily what's, oh, that's a really good defined echo. I would suggest anybody who's in this area, and that's coming right towards Ottawa, be ready for what that could possibly mean. I'm just having a look here for a second. So freezing rain warning is still carrying on for Ottawa, 20 to 30 millimeters. Wakefield, Quebec, more or less Ottawa. So that does kind of speak to the fact that there is freezing rain in this section, and this is approaching Ottawa quickly. So that's what we want to be. If you have people in Ottawa that you know, make sure they're aware that some strong winds are coming in. You know, the timing of that, pretty quick. I mean, that's moving fairly quickly now. We've watched that enter the suburbs in just the last number of minutes. Canada just about to be hit. Hopefully it destroys the Ottawa Senators' home rink. I'd have no problem with that. Just tear the roof right off the damn building, okay, Storm? As long as you do that and don't hurt anybody else, that would be great. Again, a little bit of a bow echo. That's what you'd call that, a bow echo. How strong will those winds be? You're going to have to ask a real meteorologist. I'm just Joey, the specialist, right? I'm pretty good at reading radar, pretty good at knowing. I got a pretty good goddamn idea what they're doing. Lightning now sparking up in Ottawa suburbs. Ottawa, you are about to get hit by this line of storms, and not incredibly intense for lightning. Freezing rain being the big thing in this line of wind. So we'll come back to that in a second. But Ottawa, I would say, is going to get a strong blast. Over to Bannockburn, Mom's house. It's here somewhere. Oops. And she's just seeing some, this pocket of clear sky. That's kind of cool. Okay. That one looks pretty organized in through central Ontario. I'd be concerned about that. In fact, this little storm here, these are the ones that can get really pissed off when they're on their own. So that's just a little bit north of Mum there. This one looks fairly deep and moving fairly quickly. Just in that, over a matter of minutes, it's jumped from, you just saw it's now right over top of El Dorado, Ontario. That's where the first gold mine in Eastern Canada was found in 1867. Caribou Cameron, who was here in Wells, British Columbia, was at that particular gold strike. So that's a little bit of relative history for you. Kingston now. Kingston is seeing just north of the 401, especially the core of that cell. So if you, oops, I keep meaning to click on this. And you look just on the 401 itself, downtown Kingston, seeing some activity, but definitely the core of that storm where there might be hail and things. And I think the hail story still is coming today. I've yet to really identify too much on here as hail to this morning, but that does not mean this shit ain't gonna happen. So let's go back up, check out. So our little bow echo that we were talking about, it has flattened out a little bit. So that's probably, I mean, it still definitely has that echo shape. So there's going to be some strong winds right along here coming into Ottawa, but I think maybe it's calmed down just a little bit since our last radar look. So some of these will explode like that, right? And be concerned. Here's these guys right now. This line, pretty strong. Brampton, Mississauga, Milton, Oakville, Burlington, Hamilton, all the way down to Caledonia. That's riding on the escarpment and down. It's currently sitting right along the western edge of Lake Ontario. Right now, I'm sure if you're at the HMCS Haida Naval Museum, you would see some pretty good weather. This storm out in the middle of Lake Ontario, that's pissed off. That's interesting. That's the kind of ones that I'm looking for later today to hit Ontario. And this one too, out by Oshawa, this is a pissed off little cell. Those ones are the ones that really can become violent, right? So people think that the bigger the storm, the worse it is, but that's not always the case. In fact, these little guys, they have the ability to get rotating because of the fact that they're small, right? So they're the ones that generally are the stories. This here, a little concerning for wind. If right now, Bellwood, there's still towns in Ontario. Bellwood, probably see some good wind coming in there. Batten your hatches down just a little bit. So again, none of these storms severe yet. And judging by the pattern I'm seeing, I don't know if any will, but that's a lot of lightning going on, right? And the point being that this is only part one. In fact, if we want to, this storm is strong, and that's moving into Ontario, more or less. So here we go. I mean, it gives you just examples as we go around the radars and look at what's coming still. This is really just round one, and in the next couple hours, it will sort of work its way through as round two comes. Here's some very strong organized cells. That's down Indiana, just south of Ohio, corner there on Lake Erie. If you go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, probably. Here's a nice line that we see right from Fort Wayne down to Indianapolis. So tornadoes in there? No, those straight line storms don't usually produce meaningful tornadoes. However, there's still probably something you don't want to be outside working in. So just looking at all the different radar feeds, and as you can see, every radar feed's got its own little thing. But we got that, really this whole section from southern Ontario right down to Texas. And that includes right to the Mexican border. So we got 3 countries being affected by this storm today. I mean, that's absolutely fucking wild. One wintry thunderstorm setup. Just, there you go. Let's just have a quick look around. Up in Huron. There's your southern Ontario weather. Here's some of this shit there going towards Sudbury. That's a mix. That's got some fruit out of it. So you're not done with freezing rain. If you go a little further out into the Quebec side, that's snow up there. Snow in the far north. Unbelievably, we have a radar in Thunder Bay. But it doesn't mean I can make it work. It was working yesterday, though, temporarily. And I noticed Environment Canada said that there's no longer a layer on their radar page for radars that aren't functioning. So what does that tell me? That tells me that probably Environment Canada now has all its radars up. What bothers me, though, is still that only it covers like the bottom third of the country. And it's good that we finally, after 20 years that we're behind, it's finally we got some modern radars that can give us real good looks into the storms, you see in northern Ontario lots of snow going on. How about you, Winnipeg? It's snowing, not the hardest. You've been kind of lucky that you've been on the flank of the storm. But you pay taxes, right? I was hearing Ryan Hall say this the other day. You pay taxes, right? You get these areas of weak coverage. Well, that's most of Canada, right? But in the United States, he's talking about areas of weak coverage where there's some overlap on radar and you're kind of on the very far. There's some places where it's like that. And if you live in that place, you could be greatly affected by the forecasting when a tornado outbreak happens, right? So the point being that, look at all that freezing rain. So that's where our freezing rain really is right now. It's already mostly moved through Ontario. It's coming to the Ottawa Valley. Definitely going on in Algonquin. Definitely in the Ottawa River Valley, towards Cornwall. Montreal now getting some. There's a lot of freezing rain, and if you go further east, that turns to snow. So towards Quebec City, it's snowing right now while it's freezing, raining. And so yeah, we got right out through the St. Lawrence Seaway. We got definitely lots of snow going on. That will change today. That will make its way into shitty weather. So thanks for stopping in today. This is just your sort of first look at what I expect will be a bigger story today. And so far we're not seeing high severity on these Ontario thunderstorms, but be aware this is happening, and some of these cells are pretty meaty, and some of them could bring pretty good hail. And what I will do is, the second we get a severe storm warning go off, if one is issued today, most likely it will. I think with the next line of storms that comes through, and this is more or less what I was saying in my forecast a couple days ago, I would say that this has exceeded my expectations for the morning round. So when you saw my video on Monday, I was saying that the probability is that there'll be two lines of storms. One will move through the morning and not really be the show, and then the second line will come through later in the afternoon, and that's still more or less the expectation. The timing, dependent, that it could be that second line of storms that we're real concerned about. So as we get further in the day to day, be aware of this going on in Ontario. Be aware that although maybe the freezing rain threat is past for most of you, ping pong size hail and nickel hail, things like that are all entirely possible. And I would say, especially with that second round, when you get the heat of the day coming up more and more, and the pulse of what is that mesoscale discussion area coming into southern Ontario later this afternoon. So if we get to that point where there are tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings this afternoon, I will be sure to go live here and talk you through all of it. So make sure I'm expanding. I've always been so far a British Columbia weather guy. Right now I'm trying to make myself a Canada-wide weather guy, right? So I'm still going to make my focus interior weather and wilderness watchers. The focus of this channel will still always be BC weather first, especially the interior. That's my focus. But I want to be able to talk Canadian weather broadly, because I feel like there just isn't much of that happening. You can go on YouTube today, right, with the storm outbreak, and you can see a dozen, half dozen really good quality streaming people like me who are just streaming, who are watching storms. And the big one being Andy Hill and Ryan Hall, y'all. Or you could watch the tornado chasers themselves. There's so much cover during a severe storm outbreak that if you're paying attention in the United States, you can really see everything that's going on. Almost every major storm will have a chaser on it most of the time, right? So it's like anything that happens is going to get seen, photographed, taken, spread on the news, put on live stream. It's going to, where Canada, it's like, well, severe thunderstorms are going on. Good luck. So I'd like to be more and more that guy that when shit's hitting the fan in Canada, you come here. That's why I spent all this money on this heavy-duty radar package, because I want to be able to give you the most accurate weather. And as you see, that line of storms secondary line of storms is now into Toronto, and it's pushing across. So over the next 2-3 hours, it's going to move its way through, and then we got this gap in behind. Maybe the sunshine will heat it up a little bit, and that will piss things off for this afternoon. So this now is all Eastern Ontario story, moving quickly, and we got freezing rain on everywhere on this side of it right now. So freezing rain, big time problem today in Ontario, and I don't have news right now. If Brandon was on with me, but he's busy, he's covering for a radio station in Drumheller, I think, this morning. And mornings are tough for Brandon because he's radio man. If shit, what was I gonna say? I got busy thinking about how much I like Brandon Houck. Ugh, that's terrible. No, that's what I was gonna say. If Brandon Houck was available to come on, he's Twitter guy, and that means I could actually watch the storm here while Brandon keeps funneling us information from the outside, right? So hopefully this afternoon, when something really developed happens, we will be here together, give you as much of the story as we can, as I try to focus in on what I can tell from radars and predictions. And Brandon, he's excellent at reading this stuff. He's better than me, I would say. This is a sort of a growth for me into becoming more and more meteorologically trained, right? I've always been that guy who, if I was right now on the ground in Burley Falls, and I could, so I'm in Belleville, and I could basically look at the sky and tell you what this radar is seeing with my own brain. I just have that sort of like understanding of what looks like what's doing what, why things are doing what. I've always been really good on the ground. I want to be better and better at being the full package meteorologist, right? I'm not a meteorologist, but storm chasers often become meteorologists. That's how Reed Timmer became a doctor, right? So, you spend your life watching weather, you're going to start learning something. So, a little bit of a line here approaching Toronto. That's probably got some strong winds. Maybe some strong winds in here. Mostly, I think this is going to pass through without Indiana tornado warning. So these are the kinds of things like this, Indiana. Where do you think that's going today? Tornado warning. Where do you think that's going? All this shit, right? Mesoscale discussion has things. Wait a second. I've only on wind. Let's go back to tornado. So we see these storms will move into southern Ontario this afternoon, right? This is the concern. And that's when you're going to see those severe storm watches that are in effect. They are not necessarily for the thunderstorms that we've been watching this morning. That's what I'm really trying to get across today. That it's that next line where we could have, and it's approaching already. It won't be long before the first bits of it enter Ontario. When that happens, when severe warnings are issued, we'll be right here. So subscribe to the channel. Thanks for coming by. This is just your preliminary look this morning. This morning for me, because I'm in British Columbia up high in the mountains, it's still 10 in the morning here, but it's now 1 in the afternoon in Ontario, and we are approaching rapidly the time of day. Well, when do thunderstorms like to explode the most? 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's generally the rule. And I think that's when some of these storms are going to start making their way into Ontario. So be ready, be ready, be ready. Tell a friend, and yeah. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to say for today. So thanks for coming on by, or for now, and we'll be back with more information as soon as we have it. Be safe out there. Watch your weather. Watch your local weatherman. And bye.